My name is the Soul Boys, one Fatsi from the Big R. As you know that the Big R, we talk about finance. And finance is just a broad terminology. But if you want to succeed in finance, one of those subjects you cannot do without. I don't know whether people are aware of the fact that debt is new money. It started to become a new money in 1971 when President Nixon separated gold from the dollar. So the money changed, the money became debt. So if you don't understand that, definitely you're not going to make it. You're not going to make headway. Now, we are so proud that we invited one of the esteemed people in the industry, Russell Dickerson. Russell Dickerson is the president of Dickerson. Dickerson is the Debt Counsellors Association of South Africa. As you know, like any other industry, when people have come together or the industry is there, there will always be pressure groups that helps to facilitate or help to make the industry to be easy or coordination to be much better. So Debt Counsellor Association is one of them. Russell, how are you?
Very well, thank you, and yourself?
So nice. We are honored to be graced by you. This is our first shot in our YouTube channel. And
Wonderful.
then, you know, the good thing about the social media or technology, we have been liberated.
Absolutely. There's a lot of information out there. The things are changing dramatically.
Yes.
The ways of advertising. I mean, if I go back to when we started in the industry, newspapers was the thing to do.
Exactly.
You put a newspaper advert, you got clients. Now, things are social media.
You know what?
100%.
You know what? I can say it again. Russell, if I may ask, because I'm sure the audience there, they would like to know who's Russell, where does he come from? How did he do debt counseling? You're a debt counselor, isn't it?
Yes.
You're running a debt counseling company. If you can just tell us, who's Russell, where was he before he does what he is doing now?
Well, I have a long and checkered career.
Okay.
I studied back in the 80s.
Okay.
And got a degree in chemistry and botany.
Okay.
Went and worked for a university, worked for Rhodes University for a few years, running laboratories there.
Yeah.
Then went to BP for 10 years.
Okay.
Then spent just over 10 years in the fast food industry, videos, in own businesses, that type of thing. And did quite a bit of consulting in that time.
Yeah.
And I was consulting to FNB for about a year and a half. And in that time, I became aware of debt counselling.
Okay.
2008 came. The banks didn't want any more consultants.
Yeah.
And I'd seen debt counselling. So it had just started.
Okay.
I did the course after seeing an advert from the NCR and got into debt counselling on my own. In my little office with a fax machine, I started my debt counselling business.
With fax machine.
Indeed.
Yeah. And then Russell, I know that in your company, you are not working alone. I know that your wife is also a debt counselor. Your wife is also helping. Just tell us a little bit about your company, starting with the name of the company.
Yes, we are RD Debt Counselling. We are in Benoni and we've got 5 staff. I'm a debt counsellor. My wife has done the course. I've got another debt counsellor also working there. So it's a very qualified practice.
Yeah.
And what we tend to find is we get quite a lot of people who have fairly serious legal issues around their debt counselling. People with houses, people with cars, we get a lot of those clients coming through. And we tend to do the higher value clients, but as you well know, the higher value clients come with their own set of problems in terms of high value of debt. The banks are prepared to fight a lot more if the debt is higher. They're prepared to get a whole lot more technical about the court applications and those type of things. So we tend to operate in that market, but of course we help anybody who comes through the door. We do a lot of debt advice, a lot of free debt advice for people who just phone in and what can I do about this? I've got arrears. If they need debt counselling, we'll help them. If they just need advice, they get advice.
You mentioned something very important in your statement. You said qualified personnel. Why is it important that you need to have qualified personnel?
You know, Sobri, we hold the financial futures of people in our hands as debt counsellors. When guys come to us, they're generally at a point where they don't have many other options. And if you do a good debt counselling, you get them out the other side, debt-free and back on their financial feet. If you don't, if you mess it up, you actually mess up their financial future. So it's a very responsible position to have as a debt counsellor.
So that is why you need qualified people.
That is why you need qualified people. They make the right decisions. We work in a legal environment. So the legal environment means no space for error. If you make errors in court applications, the application gets thrown out. So the more qualified your people are, the better background they have, the better education within debt counselling that they've been exposed to. The less likely they are to make mistakes, the more innovative they are when they get asked difficult questions by lawyers and by magistrates through the lawyers. They can put an answer together. They don't have to come to me to get an answer every time, which is also a great help.
Now, you mentioned something very important to say before. There are two questions that I would like to ask. One of the questions that I would like to ask you, what would you like to tell people out there why they should choose debt counselling as compared to them going on their own to make their own arrangement? That's one part of the question.
Yes.
But the first question that I would like you to answer, which I take from what you said, is the one of said, you have helped a lot of people. Do you have examples of, few success stories that you can share?
Sure. In fact, these people came to see me yesterday. So that's my freshest memory, I'll tell you that quickly. They've been out of debt counselling for about 2 years now, 1.5 years, 2 years. They went through the whole process. When they came to see me, he was having problems with work. They weren't getting overtime, the business was struggling, so they weren't getting paid properly. He got into arrears. They had a problem with their rent. There were all sorts of problems. They've now got out of it, and they came and saw me yesterday about a completely unrelated issue. They wanted tax advice, which I can't really give, so I referred them to someone that I know. But the husband said to me, it was really tough. It wasn't easy. We had to pay quite a lot of money, but we are now out of debt. He has since retired. He's bought a house with his retirement money, and he has no more debt. And his wife said to me, when we go shopping now, we buy cash. There are no credit cards in our house. So when you've been through that 5 years, and it's never, I wouldn't say it's never easy. For some people, their salaries come right and it's not too difficult. For others, it's tough, but they get out of it and they're actually very proud that they've got to the end of it and that they are now debt-free and they want to stay that way.
Now, you said, I know I've asked the question that why should they go under debt review? But as I was listening to you, but maybe answer that one. Why should the people opt for debt review as compared to a person saying, I'll do it myself. I can talk to the creditors and make my own arrangement. Why? Why debt counselling?
You know,
what makes debt counselling, in fact, to be a catalyst compared to others?
There's a lot of good things about debt counselling, but if someone comes and sits opposite me in my office and we lay things out and there is a chance that they can still make arrangements and get out of it, I say to them, do that first. Make the arrangements if they can get out of it. But what happens in a lot of cases is these arrangements aren't recorded and they don't get, the credit providers don't stick to the arrangements and they continue harassing the people even though they have made the arrangements. And I've had so many people come and sit there and say, you know what, I'm tired of being harassed. I'm tired of making arrangements. Why I say try and make arrangements first is because debt counselling is a long-term process. If you can fix your thing short-term, then fix it short-term. If it's not going to fix, then get into debt counselling. It's a long-term process, it's a court process, it's a very rigid process. So once you're in it, you are in it. You know about that judgment middle of last year, which said you cannot just walk out of debt counselling. You need to pay up your debt first. And so once you're into it, you need to be committed to pay your debt. And the people that are very good clients, they're very happy, they've made the commitment. If people jump in too early, sometimes they're bad clients because after a while they say, geez, my things have come right, I don't need this anymore, how do I get out? And that's when they end up being bad clients because they actually want to get out and they're legally obliged to stay in. And that's where one of the problems with debt counselling is this legal binding arrangements. Life happens. What you've seen with your own clients. They lose jobs, they get retrenched, they have babies, they have accidents. It happens. Here you've got a court arrangement which is fixed every month. If you have to stick to that and your life is doing that, it's not always that easy.
Okay. You know, you mentioned something very important. I want to take note of this. You said they lose jobs. I want to know whether in that counselling there is no mechanism if a person has lost job. That's one. But as I was listening to you, I'm sure the audience out there listening to you, they hear that once you're in, you'll have to finish. Now, if I may ask, or a person is asking, how long is it going to take for a person to be under debt review? One, as when I started, I said debt is new money. Making money, you use debt.
Yes.
Now, if you can answer those, how long are people expected to be in debt review? One. Secondly, if a person loses jobs or there's something happening with his salary, just like when we had COVID-19,
yes,
any mechanism in place to assist. And the third one, I have a bond. I want you to answer 3 questions. I have a bond. You know what a bond is, 20-year, 30-year.
Yes.
And now you guys as debt counselors say, stay there until you finish. So 20-year, 30-year.
Yes, that's a very important point, that last one. Let's start with the last one, seeing as it's fresh.
No, good.
5 years is more or less the time to be in debt review. Most of the plans are worked out around about 5 years. There are 2 methods of doing debt review. 2 different mathematical systems that are used. The one is DCRS, where we can reduce interest rates and we fit it into 5 years. Sometimes it goes a little bit over if there's balloon payments on cars and things like that. It will sometimes go over the 5 years. But you do not have to finish paying off your house in debt review. There's a special mechanism that after all your other debt is paid, you make a rearrangement with the bank and your house is then out of debt review, you are out of debt review.
Okay, so
you are back to normal. They do often the repayment is slightly more, so if you were paying 8,000, perhaps you'd be paying 8,500 or 9,000 after that to make up for the grace period while under debt review. But yes, you don't have to stay under debt review for 20 years and pay off your house. Because a lot of people get worried about that one. You do your 5 years, you pay off your other debt, and you're done.
While we're still there on the 5 years, I know I've asked another question. Now, is it possible, let's say I'm a client, I'm under debt review, there is a proposal, there is a court order, I'm paying according to the proposal, but I get bonuses, I get other things. Then can I pay and finish, not go the entire 5 years and finish earlier?
The best clients that we've got do exactly that.
Yeah.
When they get extra money, our average client is in debt review 3.5 to 4 years. The plan is worked out for 5 years, the court order is there for 5 years, but we have a discussion up front to say, if you get extra money, pay it in. Maybe you can pay it on specific assets. If it's a house or a car, then you can pay extra on that so that your house or your car is more secure. But pay it in and make your time shorter. The 5 years is not what's fixed. It's the amount that's fixed. Once the amount is paid, you're out of debt review. I had a guy who was in debt review for 6 months and he had a house and a car. He took early retirement, he got his payout, he paid off his house, he paid off his car, and walked out of debt review. So his amount was paid. He didn't have to stay for the 5 years.
You don't stay for 5 years?
Yes.
Now, I think one of the questions that I wanted to know, you told me about the duration. You also, the other question was, as you said that people become unemployed or the salary becomes, hampered due to other things. The company where I'm working is not doing well. Since it's not doing well, then the salary has been affected. Is there any mechanism, to accommodate, talk of a legal process that is rigid?
It is a rigid legal process, and to be quite honest, in terms of pure law, there is no process. Either you have paid or you haven't paid. Either you have paid the right amount or you haven't paid the right amount. That's how the law works, unfortunately. Now, within the industry, we have negotiated a process with all the credit providers, which is called the 17.3 process, if anybody has heard of it or been involved in it, where we can ask, we cannot, in terms of the law, order a credit provider to accept less than the court order. We can ask them, we can explain the circumstances. So this has been negotiated over time. There is a process, but as a debt counsellor, I cannot legally force the credit provider to accept the 17.3 process. And as a result, not all of them are successful. We have had success on a lot of them. A lot of credit providers are very sympathetic when you can provide documentation, but a lot of cases that get turned down don't have supporting documentation, they don't have medical reports, they don't have letters from work, they don't have retrenchment letters, and it's very hard for a credit provider to give someone grace in a retrenchment or a loss of income type of situation if there hasn't been good documentation.
If I may explain in a layman's term, will I be right when I say 17.3 is change of circumstances?
Yes.
That my circumstances have changed now, maybe we need to take a break and then come back and then we'll deal with other issues.